My name is Celine. The night my husband slid divorce papers across our dining table, he thought he had won. He believed he was walking away free with all the money, the house, the car, and the reputation. He thought I would leave quietly, broken and penniless. What he never realized was that I had been preparing for this moment long before he imagined betraying me. The evening had been ordinary at first. I cooked his favorite dinner: rosemary chicken, roasted potatoes, a bottle of red wine breathing on the counter. Rain pressed against the windows, and thunder rolled like a drum in the distance. I had hoped we might share a rare moment of peace, but when he walked through the door, his suit was too crisp, his expression too sharp. Tucked under his arm was a manila envelope, edges damp from the storm. He did not kiss me hello. He did not even remove his coat. He sat, pulled out the papers, and pushed them across the table as though sliding a bill he did not want to pay. "Sign them," he said. His voice carried no warmth. "It is over, Celine. I am done carrying dead weight." I stared, my fork halfway to my mouth. The scent of rosemary clung to the air, suddenly bitter. "Dead weight," I whispered. He leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Yes. You bring nothing. I have paid every bill, every mortgage installment, every dinner out. You think I do not notice how little you contribute? I cannot keep carrying a woman who has no ambition, no income, nothing. You are broke, Celine, and I am finished." His words fell heavy, each syllable a hammer against the life I thought we had built. I should have cried. I should have begged him to reconsider. That is what he expected. Instead, I watched him with a stillness that made him shift uncomfortably in his chair. Because he was wrong. He had been wrong for years. I was not broke. I was not powerless. I was not the woman he thought he could discard without consequence. For years I had built a business he never cared to ask about. He thought my evenings spent in my study were wasted on journals and hobbies. He never asked why I had meetings, why I traveled for conferences, why my phone sometimes buzzed with numbers he did not recognize. He did not see the invoices, the contracts, the steady rise of profits. He never thought to check. I had let him believe the lie because I wanted to trust him. I wanted our marriage to be about love, not money. I had chosen silence because I believed that what I earned was less important than what we shared. But now, as the paper sat between us like a weapon, I realized that silence had armed him with arrogance. He thought he knew my worth. He thought he had calculated every angle. He thought he could strip me bare. But in truth, I was the one holding the cards. I slid the papers back toward him. "Not tonight," I said softly. He frowned. "Do not make this harder than it needs to be." "I am not making anything hard," I replied, my tone calm, almost gentle. "But I will not sign away my life in one evening." His jaw clenched, but he did not push further. He believed he had already broken me. He believed delay was just denial. He went upstairs, muttering about lawyers and court dates, about how resistance would only humiliate me further. But what he did not see, what he could not imagine, was me walking into my study after he shut the bedroom door. I unlocked the cabinet he had never touched. Inside lay the files of my company. Contracts signed by clients, proof of revenue streams, tax filings that showed my income climbing far above his. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the sharp edge of realization. This betrayal was not just personal. It was strategic. He wanted out because he thought I was nothing. He wanted to leave me with empty hands. But I was about to show him how full mine truly were. As I closed the cabinet and set the folder on my desk, lightning split the sky outside, bathing the room in a harsh white glow. I sat there, staring at the evidence of everything he had never cared to know. And I felt the first spark of something powerful, something that would guide me through the storm to come. Not grief, not despair, but resolve. Because if he thought divorcing me would free him, he was wrong. It would ruin him, and I would make sure of it. Upstairs, I heard the creak of the bed as he lay down, smug in his ignorance. He did not know that the woman lying beside him in that house was already planning the revenge that would unravel his world. The morning after the papers appeared, I woke with the weight of his words pressing on my chest. The storm had passed, but the house still smelled of damp earth and extinguished candles. My husband, his name was Marcus, moved through the kitchen with the confidence of a man who believed he had already won. He sipped his coffee, checked his phone, and did not glance at me as I entered. Did you think about what I said? He asked. His voice was casual, like he was asking if I wanted milk with my tea. I watched him, the lines of his face sharp in the sunlight. I did, I said. And? I will not sign yet. His jaw flexed. Celine, do not embarrass yourself. The sooner you accept the truth, the easier this will be. I bit my tongue, forcing myself to remain silent. But inside I burned. He thought I was weak. He thought I had no fight. And worse, he thought he could humiliate me and walk away untouched. That day I began watching him. I paid attention to the calls he answered in hushed tones, to the evenings he claimed to be working late, to the moments when his smile carried triumph rather than warmth. I began to notice patterns, numbers scrawled on scraps of paper, emails quickly closed when I entered the room, bank envelopes hidden in drawers. The truth revealed itself piece by piece. One afternoon while he showered, I opened his laptop. He never guarded it because he assumed I would not understand. But the screen revealed a trail of arrogance. Hidden folders, financial transfers, conversations with a lawyer named Crispin, whose emails dripped with smugness. In one thread I read, "She has nothing. Push hard. Settle fast. Once it is over, she cannot touch you." Another message made my stomach twist. It was from Marcus himself. "She is naive. I will walk away clean, and she will crawl back to her mother. She cannot survive without me." The words blurred for a moment as my eyes filled, but the tears did not fall. Not this time. My breath steadied. My hands steadied. I copied everything onto a flash drive and slid it into my pocket before the water stopped running upstairs. But betrayal is never just legal. It is never only about money. That evening, as I folded laundry, his phone buzzed on the counter. He had forgotten to take it with him into the garden. For a moment I hesitated. Then I unlocked it. His code had never changed. The message thread at the top carried a name I recognized all too well: Clara. My supposed friend. The conversation was not about love, not in the soft, tender sense. It was about logistics, timing, strategy. When will it be done? She had asked. Soon. She is resisting, but not for long, Marcus had replied. Good. Then we can finally breathe. A photograph followed. The two of them together at a restaurant, wine glasses raised, his hand resting on hers. The timestamp mocked me. It was the same night he told me he was working late on quarterly reports. I sat there, the laundry basket half folded, the phone trembling in my grip. The betrayal was complete. Not only was he divorcing me for imagined poverty, not only was he plotting with lawyers to strip me of dignity, but he was also parading his affair with the woman who had once sat at my table, laughing, drinking, pretending to be a friend. My world tilted, but it did not collapse. Instead, something within me hardened. I returned the phone exactly where he left it. When he came back inside, dirt on his hands from trimming the roses, I smiled. I smiled as though nothing had changed. I kissed his cheek lightly and asked about his day. He never noticed the shift in my eyes, the steel that had replaced the softness. Because now I knew everything. He thought he was divorcing a weak, broke wife. But what he was really divorcing was a woman who had seen the truth, gathered the proof, and was already plotting the counterstrike. That night, as he drifted into sleep beside me, I lay awake in the dark, the glow of the flash drive pressing against my palm beneath the blanket. And I made a vow. He would regret every word, every lie, every betrayal. At dawn I packed a small bag, slipped the flash drive into the lining, and walked out the door. I was not leaving him. I was preparing. And my first stop was someone who had always warned me this day would come. The bag I carried was small, almost weightless, but inside it rested the beginnings of a weapon more powerful than anything Marcus could imagine. The flash drive pressed against the fabric lining, and with every step I felt its promise. I drove to the edge of town where my sister, Lillian, lived. She was older by 3 years, sharper, and had always told me that Marcus's charm was a veil. One day, she had said, you will see his true face. And when you do, Celine, you must be ready. When she opened her door that morning, she took one look at my expression and said nothing. She simply pulled me inside, brewed tea, and waited. I slid the flash drive across her kitchen table. He thinks I am broke, I said. He thinks he will walk away free. But he is wrong. Her eyes darkened as she read the copies of emails and financial records. "This is not just betrayal," she murmured. "This is cruelty. He is trying to erase you." Her words lit a fire in me. Erase me, that was what Marcus wanted. To strip me of identity, dignity, and power. But erasure works both ways. Over the next week, I became a shadow. I moved silently through my own home, careful not to betray what I knew. Each night, when Marcus claimed to be at the office, I followed his trail. His arrogance left crumbs everywhere. Credit card charges at restaurants he swore he never visited. Receipts tucked into his suit pockets. Hotel bookings under his name, sometimes paired with hers. I gathered them all. One evening while he showered, I searched his briefcase. Inside was a folder with drafts of property division. He had highlighted sections that gave him the house, the cars, even the small cabin by the lake that had once belonged to my father. Notes in the margin read, "She cannot contest. She has no assets." The ink smudged as I clenched the page. My hand shook, but not from weakness. From fury. He wanted not just to leave me. He wanted to strip me bare, to parade his triumph while I stood in ruins. But I was not ruined. I was gathering bricks, stone by stone, to build the wall that would crush him. I began keeping a journal, each page dated, each entry marked with evidence. Screenshots of messages. Copies of financial transfers. Photographs of him with Clara, taken from a distance when he thought no one was watching. The more I found, the more I realized that Marcus was not careful because he did not believe he needed to be. He thought I was blind. He thought I was powerless. That arrogance was the rope with which he would hang himself. Still, proof on paper was not enough. Betrayal needed witnesses. I began reaching out quietly to those who had noticed what I had overlooked. Neighbors who had seen Clara's car in our driveway when I was away. A colleague of Marcus's who confided, with a guilty look, that Marcus had bragged about trading up once the divorce settled. Each voice added weight to the scale. At night, I returned to Lillian's house and spread the evidence across her dining table. Contracts, photos, emails, receipts, like puzzle pieces forming the image of a man who thought himself untouchable. My sister studied the pattern and said, "You are building a case, Celine. But cases are not enough. You must build a reckoning." Her words echoed through me. Reckoning. Yes, this was no longer about survival. This was about justice, carved in precision, delivered in silence until the moment of impact. One afternoon, I stood in the doorway of Marcus's study. He was on the phone, his voice low but not low enough. "She will not fight," he said. "She cannot. She has nothing. By the time she realizes, it will all be done." I stepped back before he noticed me, my pulse steady. His certainty was my cloak. His blindness was my cover. And yet, even as I gathered every thread, doubt whispered in the corners of my mind. Would the truth be enough? Could I stand against his lies, his wealth, his charm, the lawyer who called me naive? But then I looked at the flash drive, the journal, the photographs, and I knew. I was no longer the woman he thought he had married. I was no longer the quiet wife who hid her strength. I was a storm waiting on the horizon. And Marcus, blind and arrogant, was walking straight into it. The final piece arrived unexpectedly. An envelope slipped into my mailbox late at night. No return address. Inside, a photograph of Marcus and Clara, their hands entwined, standing before a lawyer's office. On the back, scrawled in ink, "Ask him about the account in Zurich." The photograph with the message about Zurich sat on my desk like a live coal. Who had sent it? A neighbor? A colleague of his? Or perhaps Clara herself, playing a dangerous game? The handwriting was sharp, deliberate. The ink pressed so hard that the letters indented the back of the photo. I turned it over again and again, tracing the words with my finger. Ask him about the account in Zurich. An overseas account. Hidden money. It meant Marcus was not only betraying me personally, he was committing financial deception on a scale I had never imagined. If he was hiding money abroad, it was not only for himself. It was for them. For their future together. That was the final crack I needed. I could no longer fight this battle alone. The next morning I called Lillian. "I need more than your kitchen table," I told her. "I need someone who can fight him with me." She did not hesitate. "I know just the person." That evening we met with her friend Amelia, a lawyer whose reputation was whispered about in courtrooms. Amelia was not just sharp. She was relentless. She greeted me with a firm handshake and eyes that seemed to read everything I had not yet said. I laid out the flash drive, the journal, the photographs, and finally the anonymous envelope. She studied each piece in silence. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of certainty. "Marcus is playing a dangerous game," she said. "He thinks he can walk away with everything because he believes you are broke. He has not only underestimated you, Celine. He has left a trail so wide that any judge will see it." Her words steadied me. "So I can fight him?" "You can do more than fight," Amelia said. "You can expose him. But you must be patient. We need timing, precision, and undeniable proof. If Zurich exists, we will find it. If he has lied to the court, he will pay." For the first time since that night at the dining table, I felt the ground beneath me solidify. I was not alone. The weeks that followed became a quiet war. Amelia coached me on what to document, what to say, what silence to keep. Lillian became my second pair of eyes, tracking Marcus's movements when I could not. Together we built a net, each thread carefully woven, waiting for the moment it would close. Marcus remained oblivious. He grew bolder, careless in his arrogance. He spent weekends away, claiming work trips that ended with photographs I collected through anonymous emails. He transferred money, always believing I was too naive to notice. At night, when he returned home smelling of cologne that was not mine, I smiled and served dinner as though nothing had changed. I became an actress in my own house, every gesture rehearsed, every glance calculated. He never saw the storm forming inches from his skin. One evening, as he prepared for yet another conference, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom and watched him pack. "Do you ever worry?" I asked softly. He looked up, frowning. "About what?" "About losing everything." He laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "You cannot lose what you never had." He zipped the suitcase and brushed past me without another word. I stood there, heart pounding, his arrogance searing into my memory. Every lie, every insult, every dismissal. I stored them like fuel for the fire I was preparing to light. Back at Lillian's house, Amelia laid out the plan. "We will not confront him now," she said. "We will let him believe he is winning. When the time comes, we will strike. The Zurich account will be the key. Men like Marcus cannot resist flaunting their hidden power. We will use his pride against him." I nodded, though a chill slid down my spine. I had always believed betrayal was a knife in the dark, a sudden wound. But this was slower, sharper. It was the dismantling of illusions piece by piece, until all that remained was truth. Late that night, after Lillian had gone to bed, Amelia stayed behind. She leaned across the table, her voice low. "You must understand, Celine," she said. "This will not just be a legal battle. This will be personal. When men like Marcus are exposed, they lash out. You must be ready for the storm after the silence." I met her gaze. I am ready. Because by then I was no longer afraid of storms. I was becoming one. 2 days later, a bank statement arrived at our house by mistake. It was addressed to Marcus, but when I opened it, my breath caught. The logo at the top read Zurich. And the numbers on the page were larger than I ever imagined. The Zurich statement was more than proof. It was a confession written in numbers. The balance shimmered on the page like a cruel joke. Funds siphoned from accounts I had never known existed. Sums that could have rebuilt my entire life twice over. He had hidden it all while smirking at me across the dinner table, telling me I was nothing. I carried the statement to Amelia that night. She studied it with eyes that gleamed like a hunter spotting her prey. "This is it," she said. "This is the leverage we needed. With this, Marcus has not only lied, he has committed fraud. The court will not forgive him. But we cannot use it too early. He must trap himself in his own arrogance first." "How?" I asked. "By letting him believe he has already won." So the plan began. I returned home with a new role to play. The obedient, defeated wife. I let my shoulders sag. I let silence swallow my words. When Marcus spoke of lawyers and settlements, I nodded as though I were resigned. When he hinted about a brighter future, I pretended not to hear. But beneath that mask I worked. Step 1. Document every transaction. With Amelia's guidance, I tracked the hidden transfers, catalog dates, and cross-referenced with the Zurich account. Each number became a thread in the net. Step 2. Prepare witnesses. Lillian quietly reached out to neighbors who had seen Clara's car, to colleagues who had heard Marcus brag. Amelia drafted affidavits, their words preserved like arrows waiting for the bowstring. Step 3: Build the reveal. It would not be in a courtroom. No, Marcus thrived in performance, in appearances. He wanted admiration, applause. That would be the stage of his downfall. We chose his company's annual gala. He had been boasting for weeks about it, a night of champagne and speeches, of cameras and praise. He would stand at the podium, basking in the image of a man respected and admired. That was where I would end him. But to strike, I needed the perfect blade. Amelia arranged for a projection, a simple device that could be connected quietly to the venue system. All it would take was a small laptop and the flash drive I had been feeding with evidence. Screenshots, photographs, transfers, the Zurich account, everything. The files formed a timeline. His betrayal mapped in cold precision. His affair. His financial theft. His arrogance documented word by word. At night, I rehearsed the reveal in my mind. I imagined the hush that would fall when the first photograph appeared on the screen. The shifting eyes, the whispers, the sudden collapse of his carefully crafted image. But Amelia warned me. Do not underestimate him. Men like Marcus do not surrender quietly. When the mask cracks, they claw to keep it in place. Be ready for his fury. I nodded. I am not afraid. And it was true. The fear that once haunted me had burned away, replaced by a clarity I had never known. Still, doubt whispered in the corners of my mind. What if he found the files? What if he discovered the plan? One careless slip could ruin everything. So I became meticulous. I encrypted the flash drive. I hid duplicates in Lillian's house, in Amelia's office, even in a safe deposit box under a name Marcus did not know. If he searched, he would find nothing. Meanwhile, Marcus grew more careless. He spoke openly on the phone, confident in my silence. He sneered when I signed small checks, as though mocking the idea I could ever hold wealth. He brought Clara closer into the light, inviting her to dinners where I was forced to smile through clenched teeth. Every insult became another brick in the stage I was building for his downfall. One evening, as he stood before the mirror, adjusting his tie, he caught my gaze in the reflection. You should be grateful, he said. When this is over, you will not have to pretend anymore. You can go back to being who you are, small, simple, forgotten. I smiled faintly. Perhaps. He turned away, smug in his certainty. He did not see the storm rising in my eyes. The counterplan was ready. The gala was marked on the calendar in red. Every file was polished, every thread tied. All that remained was patience. But patience is fragile. 3 days before the gala, Marcus came home early, his face tight, his voice sharp. Where is it, Celine? He demanded. Where is the statement from Zurich? Where is it, Celine? The word struck the air like a whip. Marcus stood in the doorway, his face flushed, his hand clenched around a crumpled envelope. His eyes burned with suspicion. I forced my voice calm. Where is what? The Zurich statement, he snapped. It was mailed here. I know it was. I checked the tracking. It should have arrived days ago. My heart thudded once hard, but my expression did not shift. I shrugged lightly, folding a dish towel. I have not seen it. He stepped closer, his presence filling the room like smoke. Do not lie to me, Celine. If you are hiding something, you will regret it. I met his gaze evenly. Then perhaps you should call the bank. For a long moment he studied me. His eyes narrowed, searching for cracks. Then, with a muttered curse, he stormed upstairs, the envelope crumpling in his fist. Only when I heard the bedroom door slam did I let my breath release. He was circling closer than ever. The mask of the obedient wife was beginning to fray, and if he pulled too hard, the threads would snap. That night I called Amelia. He suspects, I whispered. Her voice was steady, precise. Do not panic. Do not alter your behavior. The gala is days away. We hold steady. If he pushes harder, let him believe you are too naive to grasp what Zurich means. His arrogance will blind him again. But her warning did little to silence the unease coiling inside me. For the first time since I began gathering evidence, I feared exposure. The following days were a dance on a knife's edge. Marcus moved through the house like a predator, watching me with narrowed eyes, snapping at small things. He accused me of misplacing his cufflinks, of tampering with his briefcase. Each accusation carried a weight it had never held before. He was nervous. He felt the net tightening, though he could not yet see its shape. 2 nights before the gala, the pivot came. I returned home from Lillian's house to find my study in ruins. Drawers yanked open, papers scattered, the cabinet doors hanging ajar. The desk where I once kept my files was stripped bare. Marcus was waiting in the chair, his tie loosened, his expression dark. "Where is it?" he asked again. His voice was low, but more dangerous for its restraint. "I know you took it. Do you think you can play games with me? Do you think you can stop what is already in motion?" I steadied my voice. "I do not know what you are talking about." He rose slowly, stepping toward me. For a moment I thought he might grab my arm, shake me until the lie broke free. Instead he leaned close, his breath hot against my ear. "You will regret this," he whispered. "When this is done you will have nothing. Less than nothing." He brushed past me and left the study in shambles. I stood there in the wreckage, my pulse hammering, and realized the risk had grown sharp. If he found the flash drive, if he uncovered the duplicates, all would be lost. That night I moved the files again, slipping one copy into Amelia's office, another into Lillian's locked drawer. I kept only a decoy at home, a folder of meaningless receipts and notes. If Marcus searched again, he would find nothing but smoke. Still doubt gnawed at me. Could I hold steady until the gala? Could I keep the mask in place when he was circling so close? The day of the gala arrived under a sky the color of steel. The city hummed with anticipation. Marcus dressed in a tailored black suit, his arrogance restored, his suspicion buried beneath the thrill of performance. "You will come with me," he said, adjusting his cufflinks. "Smile, look grateful, and do not embarrass me." I nodded. Of course. Inside, my heart pounded with the rhythm of war drums. The device was ready, the files prepared. Amelia would be in the audience, her calm gaze steady on me. Lillian would be there too, hidden among the crowd. Everything was in place. But as we entered the glittering hall, chandeliers blazing, music swelling, I felt the first true tremor of fear. Not for myself but for the plan. Because standing near the entrance, smiling too brightly, was Clara. She was not supposed to be there. She had not been invited by the company. And yet, there she stood, her hand brushing Marcus's arm, her eyes sharp and knowing as they flicked to me. She whispered something to him, and his smile widened. For the first time I wondered, had she discovered more than I realized? As Marcus mounted the stage to give his speech, Clara slipped into the shadows near the projection booth, the very booth where my evidence waited. The ballroom glittered with light. Chandeliers spilled gold across glass and steel. The air filled with the hum of laughter and the clink of champagne flutes. Marcus stood at the podium, his presence commanding, his smile polished to perfection. He had always thrived on performance, on the illusion of success. Tonight he basked in it. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice rolling across the hall, "thank you for being here to celebrate not only our company's achievements but the spirit of progress we all share." Applause rippled. Cameras flashed. He spread his arms wide like a conductor leading an orchestra. I stood near the back, my pulse steady, my hands wrapped around the small remote in my purse. Amelia sat 2 rows from the front, her expression unreadable. Lillian hovered by the side wall, her gaze locked on me. But it was Clara who unsettled me most. She lingered near the projection booth, her gown shimmering under the lights, her eyes sharp. She whispered to one of the technicians and my chest tightened. Did she know? Had she uncovered my plan? Marcus continued, weaving lies with ease. I could never do this without support. My colleagues, my partners, and of course my family. His eyes flicked toward me, a mockery of affection. Though not all journeys are meant to last, we must honor the ones that shaped us. Polite laughter spread through the room. My grip tightened. Then he spoke words that sealed his fate. I have carried burdens, sacrificed more than most would understand. But tonight I stand unshaken, ready for the future. The arrogance in his tone struck like a match. My heart hammered. I glanced at Amelia. She gave the faintest nod. It was time. I slipped the remote from my purse and pressed the button. The first slide appeared on the massive screen behind Marcus. A photograph, Marcus and Clara at a restaurant, their hands entwined, their smiles intimate. The room stilled. A murmur rose like the rustle of dry leaves. Marcus faltered mid-sentence, turning to see the image towering above him. What is this?" he stammered. Before he could recover, the second slide appeared. Emails projected in clear text. "She has nothing. Push hard. Settle fast." His words, his arrogance laid bare for every eye. Gasps filled the hall. Whispers sharpened. Marcus spun back toward the audience, his smile cracking. This is not real. Some kind of. The third slide silenced him. Bank transfers. Zurich. The numbers glowed like neon, undeniable, damning. The murmur swelled into shouts. Fraud. Affair. What has he done? Clara moved quickly then, striding toward the stage. "Stop this," she hissed, her voice cutting through the din. She reached for the technician, but Amelia was already there, her presence like steel. "Touch that system," Amelia warned, "and you will answer for it in court." The fourth slide appeared. Marcus's draft of the divorce settlement, notes scrawled in his hand. "She cannot contest. She has no assets." The audience turned. Eyes pierced him like daggers. Board members, investors, colleagues, all watching the man they had admired unravel in real time. Marcus raised his hands, desperation cracking his voice. "These are lies. Fabrications. She is trying to destroy me." I stepped forward then, my voice calm but clear. "No, Marcus. You destroyed yourself." Every head turned. The spotlight caught me as I walked toward the stage, the remote still in my hand. "You wanted to erase me. You wanted to leave me with nothing. But you forgot the one truth you could never control." I paused, letting the silence sharpen. "I am not broke. I never was. And tonight everyone sees who you really are." The final slide appeared. My business records. Proof of my income, my success, the empire I had built while he dismissed me as weak. The numbers dwarfed his. The audience gasped again, this time with recognition. Whispers surged. "She earns more than him. She built this herself." He lied. Marcus's face drained of color. He lunged toward me, his hand outstretched as though he could claw back the truth. Security intercepted him before he reached me, holding him back as he shouted, "You will pay for this. Do you hear me, Celine? You will." His voice cracked, lost beneath the roar of the crowd. Cameras flashed, phones recorded, the image of his downfall captured forever. And I stood there unshaken, watching the empire of lies collapse around him. As the crowd surged with outrage, Clara vanished into the shadows, her absence sharp and deliberate. She was not finished, and neither, I realized, was Marcus. The ballroom erupted. The applause that Marcus expected never came. Instead, voices rose like a storm breaking over the shore. Guests whispered, shouted, gasped. Phones lit up as hands scrambled to capture every frame of his collapse. Board members clustered together, their faces pale, their voices sharp with panic. "The Zurich account, what does this mean? Is this fraud? This could destroy the company." Marcus fought against security, his suit disheveled, his polished mask shattered. "Lies," he bellowed. "All of it. Do not listen to her." His eyes darted wildly, searching for Clara, but she was gone. She had slipped out like smoke the moment his empire cracked. I stood still, my pulse steady, the spotlight harsh against my skin. Amelia remained near the projection booth, arms folded, gaze fixed on Marcus with the calm of a woman who knew the law was already circling. Then came the questions from the crowd, sharp and unforgiving. "Is it true? Were you stealing company funds? Did you lie about your wife's income?" Each accusation struck him like stones. He tried to shout over them, but his voice cracked, breaking under the weight of his own arrogance. "Enough," he roared. "This is a personal matter. None of you." But the screen still glowed behind him. Numbers. Transfers. Zurich. His words drowned beneath the undeniable truth. Lillian moved through the crowd, her phone in hand, recording everything. When she reached me, she whispered, "It is over, Celine. They all see it now." I shook my head. "No. This is only the beginning." Because the fallout was more than whispers. It was collapse in real time. Investors slipped out of the ballroom, phones pressed to their ears. Employees avoided his gaze. Colleagues who once shook his hand now recoiled as though his touch were poison. Security tightened their grip on him as he shouted, his face contorted with rage. "Celine, you will regret this. I built everything, and you are nothing without me." I lifted my chin, my voice clear above the din. "No, Marcus. I built myself while you pretended to be king. And tonight the crown is gone." Gasps, murmurs, cameras flashing. Every word etched into memory, into recordings that would spread beyond this room. Then the inevitable happened. A board member stepped onto the stage, his voice shaking but resolute. "Marcus, you are suspended effective immediately. An emergency meeting will follow." The word struck harder than any blow. Marcus staggered, his mouth open in disbelief. "You cannot." But they could. And they had. Security pulled him from the podium. He thrashed, shouting my name like a curse, until the doors closed behind him and his voice was swallowed by silence. For a moment, the ballroom hung in uneasy quiet. Then slowly people began to turn not to him but to me. Their eyes carried questions, judgments, even admiration. Some whispered about my income, my hidden strength. Others muttered about betrayal, about fraud. Amelia joined me, her voice low. "It worked. But be careful. Men like Marcus do not fall quietly. He will come back swinging." I nodded, though my chest tightened. She was right. This victory was public, undeniable, but it was not the end. As I walked from the ballroom, flashes followed me, voices chasing my name. Outside, the night air was sharp, cutting through the adrenaline. Lillian gripped my hand. "You did it," she whispered. "You destroyed him." But even as she spoke, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You think it is over?" Zurich was only the beginning. My blood chilled. Clara. It had to be. She had vanished too suddenly, too neatly. If Marcus was broken, she was already planning her next move. I looked up at the darkened sky, the city lights flickering like restless stars, and realized this story was not yet finished. Marcus's downfall was only the first act. Hours later, as I finally sat alone in my house, the door creaked open. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. And then I heard his voice, low and ragged, whispering my name. The night after the gala, I barely slept. My body hummed with adrenaline, my mind replaying every gasp, every flash of the screen, every furious twist of Marcus's face as his empire crumbled. But when dawn came, silence filled the house like an unfamiliar guest. For the first time in years, it was not oppressive. It was freedom whispering at the edges of the walls. I brewed tea and sat at the kitchen table, sunlight spilling across the wood. For a moment I allowed myself to breathe, to taste what life without his shadow might be. But peace never lingers long after war. By mid-morning the world had moved. News articles flooded online. Corporate fraud exposed at gala. CEO's secret Zurich account revealed. Affair and betrayal rock business empire. Marcus's face was everywhere, twisted mid-shout, caught in photographs that spared him no dignity. My phone buzzed with messages. Some from old friends I had not heard from in years, their voices shocked, supportive, sometimes guilty for not seeing the truth sooner. Others from reporters, hungry for my side of the story. I ignored them all. This was not about their spectacle. This was about survival. Lillian arrived by noon, her arms full of newspapers, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Celine," she whispered, spreading the headlines across my table. "You did it. The world knows." Amelia came soon after. She carried folders, her stride purposeful. "Marcus is finished," she said. "The board removed him last night. Fraud investigations are already underway. The Zurich account is under review. He will not escape this." I nodded, though unease lingered. "And Clara?" Amelia's lips tightened. "Vanished. She has not been seen since the gala. But her fingerprints are everywhere, in the transfers, in the emails. She may run, but she cannot hide forever." Still, the thought unsettled me. Clara had always been the silent shadow beside Marcus. If he was fire, she was smoke, curling unseen until it was too late. And now, with his empire collapsing, she was out there somewhere, untethered. The afternoon dragged with phone calls from lawyers, questions about statements, requests for interviews. Amelia handled most of them, her sharp voice cutting through their noise. I remained in the quiet, trying to feel the weight of freedom. But freedom carries its own weight. That evening, as the sky turned crimson, I drove to the lake cabin, my father's old retreat that Marcus had planned to steal in the divorce. The keys still fit. The door creaked open, dust swirling in the fading light. I stepped inside and felt the past and future meet. This cabin was mine. Not through Marcus. Not through marriage. Through blood, memory, and right. And now, with his grasp broken, it would remain mine. I built a fire, the crackle steady, and sat on the old leather chair. For the first time I allowed the tears to come, not of grief but of release. Years of silence, of being underestimated, of carrying my strength in secret, they fell away in the glow of the fire. Yet even as I breathed the smoke and warmth, my phone buzzed again. A new message. You think you won. But Marcus is not done. And neither am I. The number was blocked. No name. But I knew. Clara. The words chilled me more than the autumn air creeping through the cracks. Victory was mine, yes, but wars do not end with one battle. Marcus, stripped and humiliated, still had venom left. And Clara, clever and unseen, was already moving in the dark. The day after had given me headlines, proof, and freedom. But it had also given me a new truth. Survival is not the same as safety. And I was not finished. As I locked the cabin door that night, headlights swept across the trees. A car slowed at the end of the dirt road, lingering too long before disappearing into the woods. The car at the end of the road haunted my dreams that night. I woke before dawn, the cabin filled with the soft hush of wine through the pines. For a moment I lay still, listening, waiting. But the silence held. I rose, stoked the fire, and made tea the way my father once did, with leaves steeped long enough to darken the water to amber. As I sipped I thought of Marcus, of the empire he built on lies, of the arrogance that blinded him, and of the way it all fell apart under the weight of truth. They called me weak. They called me dependent. They called me nothing. But in the end I proved them wrong. The days that followed blurred with meetings, papers, signatures. Amelia guided me through the storm with a steady hand. Marcus's fraud charges multiplied. His accounts froze. Zurich unraveled in full, a thread that exposed years of deceit. He tried to fight, but each attempt only tightened the noose he had tied himself. Clara remained a shadow. Whispers placed her in another city, then another. She had abandoned him, as I always suspected she would once the fire grew too hot. Yet I knew better than to think her gone forever. Smoke lingers even when the flames die. As for me, I stepped into a life I had once hidden from the world. My business flourished openly now, no longer a secret tucked away in files and late-night meetings. Colleagues who once ignored me now sought my counsel. Investors who once doubted me now listened when I spoke. The woman Marcus dismissed as dead weight was suddenly a force in her own right. And yet, power was never the prize. The prize was freedom. The prize was the quiet mornings when I brewed tea without fear of footsteps behind me. The prize was the cabin, restored and alive, its walls echoing with memory instead of lies. One evening, as the sun bled gold across the lake, Lillian sat beside me on the porch. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. I thought for a long moment. "No," I said. "I regret nothing." He thought betrayal would break me, but it only revealed what I was capable of. She nodded, her eyes shining. "Then it was worth it." I gazed at the horizon, the water shimmering, and felt the truth settle inside me. Yes, it was worth it. Every moment of doubt, every night of fear, every careful step toward the reveal. It was worth it because I had reclaimed myself. Marcus will fade. Clara will vanish. But me? I will remain. Stronger than before. And to anyone listening now, to anyone who has been betrayed, dismissed, underestimated, remember this: silence does not mean weakness. Patience does not mean surrender. You are stronger than the lies told about you. You are stronger than the hands that tried to erase you. If someone betrays you, let them. Let them think they have won. Let them believe you are broken. And then when the time is right, show them the truth. Because the greatest revenge is not rage. It is revelation. And revelation is what set me free. The lake rippled under the fading sun. The fire crackled behind me. And I whispered to myself the words Marcus never believed. I was never broke. I was never weak. and I will never be erased.